told God to move it, and God didn't move it. I was bent over, I was bowed down, and I couldn't straighten up. And I went to God about my thorn in the flesh. Have ever you been to God about that thorn in your flesh? Have you ever talked to God about that thorn in your flesh? God didn't move it for Apostle Paul, but he let him know, my grace, I said, my grace is sufficient. It's made perfect in weakness. Tell somebody, God can. And if you don't yield, I say God will. God will, with the circumstances, evidence of it. You ought to have evidence that God brought you out of a situation, whether it was economical, whether it was physical. You ought to look back over your shoulders in retrospect and say, I didn't yield to that unresolved issue. But when I look back on my life and see where God brought me from, when I look back on the issues, when I look back on the trouble, when I look back on the problem, I'll tell the world, me and my house will serve the Lord. For the Lord has brought me from a long ways off. The Lord has brought me out all right. Shout, yeah, 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 yeah. An unyielding resolve. I want you to do this thing for me. Good God Almighty. An unyielding resolve. Look at your neighbor next to you and tell that neighbor, the devil thought that he had me, but I got away. I got away. Yeah.